What is going on, everyone? I hope you are all having a fantastic day. So whether it's been here on my channel or another personal finance channel here on YouTube, I'm sure we have all heard the line that you can become a millionaire with just a few dollars per day. And in a lot of cases, we hear people say things like it's as simple as giving up something like Starbucks coffee and instead investing that money and boom, you'll become a millionaire. So since I hear phrases like that all the time, and I'm sure you have too, today I thought we would take a deeper dive into that very discussion and figure out if it's actually possible to still enjoy those little things in life that probably bring you a lot of happiness while also being financially responsible and investing your way to becoming a millionaire. So if you want to learn how you can essentially have your cake and eat it too when it comes to financial responsibility and your financial health, then let's jump right into it. Okay, so first of all, let's address the very odd title of this video, which is $1 Million Roth IRA versus Starbucks coffee. Which is better? Well, unless you really like coffee, I'm assuming that most of us would probably say that a $1 million Roth IRA is definitely better than overpriced coffee. But again, what I mean by this is it really worth giving up those little joys in life, whether that be Starbucks coffee or something completely different that probably brings you a lot of happiness, just for the sake of investing a little bit of extra money and hopefully one day becoming a millionaire? Well, obviously, that is a very personal question that everyone is going to answer a little bit differently, but in order to get closer to your answer, we first need to crunch the numbers and see if you really can become a millionaire with just a few dollars per day. Well, the short answer is absolutely. There's lots of different ways that we can do the math with this one, but if you started investing as little as $6 per day at age 20, then assuming that that money would earn about 7 to 8% on average each year, then by the time you turn 65, your small contribution of just $6 per day would be worth $1,008,742. And that really shows you the power of compound interest and why it is so important to get started on your investing journey as soon as possible. Okay, that's great and all, but a lot of people live on a very tight budget, and maybe you're living paycheck to paycheck, and while $6 per day might not sound like a lot of money, over the course of an entire month, that could be the difference between being able to pay your rent or not. But why is it that so many people who are in those financial situations aren't able to invest $6 per day, but those same people also have no problem buying an overpriced coffee each day that probably costs around $6? Well, that right there is the very point of this entire video. But instead of telling you to just stop buying coffee, because who the heck am I to tell you what to do with your money, instead I want to take a very different approach and talk about why giving up those little things in life might not actually be worth it, and more importantly, how you can enjoy those little things while also being responsible and investing for the long term. And just a warning, this might be a bit of an unpopular take on this whole debate. Okay, so since we are already far into the coffee metaphor, let's stick with that and say that you spend $5 or $6 per day on coffee, or maybe it's something else that brings you some joy. Sure, you could hypothetically just cut off that daily habit, invest that money, and probably become a millionaire in the long-term future, as we've already proven with the math. But in my opinion, cutting off those little expenses in life that, again, probably bring you a lot of joy might not be the best strategy in the long term as far as your financial situation and your overall happiness is concerned. Maybe this is just me, but I look at a lot of things in my life as an investment, whether that is an investment of my time, an investment of my money, or any other resource. And as weird as it sounds, for you, investing in something as simple as an overpriced coffee each morning might bring you enough joy that it makes that investment worth it. Also, for the sake of this debate, yes, I think we can all agree that Starbucks coffee is overpriced, but that's okay. So again, you could make those little changes in your budget, but the cost of that as far as your happiness is concerned could be significant in the long term. And at the end of the day, we want to maximize not only your dollars, but more importantly, we want to maximize your happiness. Well, the good news is that the data shows us time and time again that usually people who are living paycheck to paycheck and are stuck in that financial rut are not in that situation because they buy overpriced coffee or because of those little purchases, but instead, 9 times out of 10, it's because they either, number one, have a car payment that is way more than they can afford, and or number two, they have a rent or mortgage payment that takes up a significant portion of their income. The fact is, transportation and living expenses are the largest categories for most people's budgets, other than those pesky taxes, of course, and making small changes to those two massive spending categories could easily allow you to invest a few extra dollars per day and not have to give up those small things in life that probably bring you a lot of joy. Let's take a mortgage payment, for example. Obviously, these are just examples and your situation is going to look very different, but bear with me. For our example, let's say we have a $325,000 15-year mortgage at a 4% interest rate. That means that our monthly payment would be about $2,404 per month. Now instead, let's say we bought a house that was only $300,000, but otherwise that mortgage was exactly the same. Well, that means that our mortgage payment would drop all the way down to $2,219, which is a $185 difference per month. $185 might not sound like a lot, but divide that by 30 days in a month, and boom, you just found your $6 per day that you can now invest, and the quality of your life and your overall happiness between a $325,000 house and a $300,000 house is probably very, very small. Or what if you had a rent payment of $1,000 per month instead of $1,200? Well, same exact thing here. The difference between those two houses or apartments that you are renting would probably be very, very small, but that alone will give you enough money to set aside and invest for the long term without having to give up those little purchases constantly. Okay, you get the point, but what in the world am I getting at here? Well, what I want you to see is that for most of us, those small, bad financial decisions like overpriced coffee are probably just an extension of the large-scale bad financial decisions that we are already making in our budget. And it is way, way easier to make big changes to our financial situation when we alter those big budgeting categories rather than making a lot of small decisions that will take a long time to add up. Cutting out that little $6 per day purchase that probably brings you a lot of joy is going to cost you a lot more happiness in the long term than if you just made one small change to your rent or mortgage payment or something like that, and your quality of living would probably be almost identical. I mean, let's even say you have a $200 per month car payment. Well, maybe instead of throwing that money to the bank each month, you could instead save up some cash, pay for that car in cash, and maybe buy a car that's a little bit less expensive, but probably does the exact same thing for you. And suddenly, that $200 per month that you were wasting on a car payment can now be invested, and you can still make those little purchases that bring you happiness. But the difference between a $20,000 car that you have a payment on and a $10,000 car that you paid for in cash is probably going to have a very small impact on your overall happiness, unless you're like a huge car person. So I know this was a very different type of video than what we usually cover here on the channel, but I hope this shows you that you absolutely do not need to give up all of those little tiny things in life that bring you a lot of happiness, and instead, just making the right financial choices and decisions with those large spending categories can really make all of the difference. So which is better, a $1 million Roth IRA or your overpriced Starbucks coffee? Well, that's for you to decide, but the good news is that you really can have the best of both worlds. And if you hate coffee and you don't click with that metaphor at all, then that is completely fine, and just try to find something that you can splurge on every now and then, because what's the point in working hard to make money if you can't enjoy it and improve your overall long-term happiness? Obviously, everyone's situation is going to be very different, but I am a firm believer that those little purchases in life are extremely important because, again, we want to maximize not only your money, but also your happiness as well. So I would love to hear what you think of this debate down in the comment section below, and whether you think it is easier to just change those small things constantly throughout your budget, or make the right decision with those larger budgeting categories once. As always, if you did get value out of this content and you want to help support me, it would mean a lot to me if you would hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with someone who you think would get value out of this content as well. And as always, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to watch my video. I really do appreciate that so much. Take it easy, and I'll see you in the next one.